Greetings and hello everyone. Welcome back, and I'm your host Muji. The idea of an evil Superman has gotten stale and spoiled like a week's old milk that has been left on the kitchen countertop in the blazing heat. But why is that so? Today, I'll actually explore the reasons and why Superman clones would continue to pop up, at least in the comic book space. But before I begin, I noticed a lot of you watching aren't subbed, so do me a favor please and just hit that subscribe button so that we can hit that 2000 subs milestone, and thank you. Let's begin. Superman clones have existed almost as long as he has. I mean, come on, look at the big blue. That's par for the course, seeing as he is the progenitor of the modern superhero. And that's not to say others didn't exist, as characters like Zorro, Robin Hood, the Phantom, and Tarzan debuted way before Superman, but Superman, with his cape and iconic look and stories about being faster than a speeding bullet, championing for the grassroots along with his plethora of abilities, yeah, you get the father of the modern superhero. One of the first clones was Captain Marvel, who tapped into something that actually threatened the popularity of Superman, which was the boy persona of Billy Batson, who more or less he still had the archetype of Superman. And to understand the rise of the evil Superman archetype, you need to understand who Superman is and why he was deconstructed and more recently reconstructed. Superman was created in 1938 by Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel. They essentially created the champion of the weak, fighting mobsters and gangsters and corrupt politicians, initially anyway. He couldn't even fly, but he was super strong, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, faster than a speeding bullet. We all know the theme song. And much of his mythos, his very, very convoluted mythos, had yet to be put into paper. Clark was a reporter who was raised on a Kansas farm to two loving adoptive parents, and he was a do-gooder. Now, let's fast forward a bit and he gets the movies, the animated TV shows, like some of the iconic ones are like the Christopher Reeve movie, which in part did some damage to the character. It did a lot for the character in terms of setting up who he is, but at the same time it kind of did some damage in that he is only perceived as a do-gooder. Even at some video games, but the less said about that the better. And with decades upon decades of appearances, he dies, only to be brought back again. So you see, the 90s were a very confusing time for comics. For serialization, not just Superman, everybody kind of suffered from stagnation. He was killed off in the Death of Superman story, and it was a blockbuster event, though the plan was always to bring him back. And DC did its first official clones of Superman, at least seriously anyway, with characters who were to have become different flavors of Superman. And as the super goody two-shoes personality and stories have been perceived as stale due to a rise in edgier heroes, loners, and more violent characters, still pops up as the first Superman clone, with him being a tech-based Superman. Superboy is then the hip Superman for the MTV generation, and Hank Henshaw as the villainous cyborg Superman. Then we have the Eradicator, who is this edgy android type of Superman. Then Superman himself returns with a sleek black outfit along with guns. Lots and lots of guns, because yeah, sure, the 90s were a crazy time. Where am I going with this? Well, my point is, Superman has been around for a while and has often gone revisions and reinventions. But I personally think the biggest misunderstanding of the character comes from The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, which made most people perceive Clark as a government stooge, which Miller himself later came to regret. Point is, because Superman had become the poster child for lawful good superheroes, it's only natural people would be hungry for a deconstruction of that archetype of character. And got it they did, with such characters as Homelander, Omni-Man, Marvel Man, Icon, Blue Marvel, Gladiator, Mr. Majestic. If I say I want to name all the analogs of Superman, we'd actually be here all day. But each of them brought something unique, or are a critique of something made flesh. And while deconstructive Superman was viewed more and more as just Boy Scouts, all of the nuance of his characters ignored or snubbed, then came in the zenith of this topic, Injustice, and Snyder's take on Superman. Now, Injustice Superman is an Elseworlds story that was initially created by NetherRealm Studios. Injustice, to be honest, character assassinated not just Superman but numerous others as well, such as Wonder Woman, but that would be another video on its own. Let me know in the comment section below if you want me to cover that topic. Injustice is fine for what it is. It's an Elseworlds story, and this isn't even the first time an alternate evil Superman existed in the DC timeline. We've had Brutal, we've had Red Son, we've had Nazi Superman. Red Son, I argue, isn't even evil, but Injustice Superman is what popularized the take on that character to the mainstream. I'd argue that Injustice is one of the primary reasons that the idea entered the zeitgeist, and Snyder's take on Superman just rammed it where you have entire generation of people who think that that's the baseline of Superman and who he is, leading into a god complex and barely having a character. Now, I won't be one of those people who pretends that Man of Steel wasn't a good movie. It was a decent starting point for the character. What hurt Superman was what came after Man of Steel. Rather than taking notes and rather than reconstructing the character, Snyder's vision continued with the breaking down and continued the deconstruction without reconstruction. And to be honest, I don't think Snyder understands Superman's character. And to be honest myself, neither did I. For years, I watched Superman on the surface level and I always wrote him off. I don't know if it was the maturity or the world going to shit. A flip happened and I began to delve into Superman's character and mythos. And it just clicked. I got it now, and Superman was a symbol of hope, the ability of a man who has everything but chooses to help people and be kind. There's a level of hope Clark instills in people that can come across as naive, but I disagree. It's earnest. So you'd ask what caused the death of evil Superman, and it's Superman himself that kills the trope. Once you understand his character, the deconstructions don't really hold up. And as more people become fans of the character, the novelty of an evil Superman loses its luster. Don't get me wrong, there are some deconstructions that absolutely work in appreciation of the character or even breaking down the character. The evil Superman had to have happened, so a whole new appreciation for the character springs forth in this new era. Anyway, thanks for making it to the end of the video, and hopefully you have a super day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video to your friends. Help us reach 2K, and see you in the next one.
Love and peace.